And thank you for Dr. Dillon for the invitation. I know that he's been in correspondence with our board, with OCM, Organization for Competitive Markets, and I think we've got a lot of synergy here. You're in one end of the meat inspection entity, and we are on the producer side. So I think this gives us an opportunity to be able to see where we align. Just wanted to start out by saying that we are OCM. We are Organization for Competitive Markets. As you can see, fighting for economic justice for Americans' family, farmers, and ranchers. That is what we do. You can see, why is antitrust reform such a big deal? That's the question that we want to address right here this morning. And this is why OCM exists. We are a board of directors. We're not all pictured on there. There's 12 actually represented states and board of directors from California the whole way to the East Coast and many states in between. As you can see, Taylor Haynes is in the center there. Taylor's with me this morning, Dr. Taylor Haynes from Wyoming. He'll be speaking just after me. So thank you, Taylor, for coming from Wyoming. And I'm from Pennsylvania, if I hadn't said that so far. I'm the executive director of the organization and have the privilege of working with these producers all across the nation. Von Meyer is our president. Von is a rancher in South Dakota. I was able to be on his ranch last summer, right after the RCAF convention, and a beautiful country, big sky up in that area. It's really a beautiful area. Fred Stokes, who you'll be hearing from also, he'll be joining with us via Teams just after this. Fred is the founder of the organization. Fred is a very passionate person, as you will find out. He's 86 years old, and if I can be as sharp as him when I'm 86, I'll be very blessed. So very happy to have Fred found this organization, and it's just been great to be a part of it. It's another board member of ours, David Wright. He had the chance to speak on the checkoff issues at the RCAF convention. This is another big issue. I'm not sure where you fall on this, but we as an organization, as well as RCAF, are in support of 5014. Basically, it's legislation that would require 50% of the cattle to be sold through auctions, and that a packer could not own those animals for more than 14 days. That's a critical piece for packer concentration. Our board of directors at the RCAF convention in Florida, we had the opportunity just last fall to go and speak to ranchers in Florida itself. The entire board went. This is how devoted we are as a board. We go at our own expense. American Antitrust Institute and OCM, we work together. In fact, we're working currently together right now on an initiative. And I'll read that. The American Antitrust Institute and Organization for Competitive Markets announced a new joint venture, breaking the market power bottleneck in the U.S. beef, a roadmap for building an independent ranching processing sector to promote competition in the U.S. beef supply chain. So I end with the slide that I begin. Fighting for economic justice for America's farmers and ranchers.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks for having us here. Just a little bit about me. I'm a urologist, adult and pediatric, and a certified trauma surgeon, retired, used to do advanced trauma life support for doctors. I'm the fourth generation continuously in production agriculture since Emancipation Proclamation, so it's in my blood. I grew up on a produce farm in Louisiana with a cowboy's heart, allowed myself to be recruited to Utah as an engineer, and found my way to Wyoming so I could be a cowboy. And so I'm living my boyhood dream. And the thing that came along in my boyhood dream is antitrust, packer concentration, adulteration of our product. I can't compete with that stuff that comes from Brazil. They don't have our infrastructure for safe product. They have foot and mouth disease, and they have mad cow disease. And their cattle are in the tropics. They have to have Bos Indicus blood to have a chance. That's not what we want to put on our plates. I don't mind competing with them, but I want it to say product of Brazil. And I want my beef to say product of the USA, and it's from my ranch to your plate, and I want you to know that. So we pushed hard for country of origin labeling, very hard. You know, I'll bet you not more than 3 people in here driving the same brand of car, the same brand of pickup, same kind of shirts. America's a place where we have choice. And that's all I want. I don't want you to force anybody to buy my beef. I can compete. I raise the best beef in the world. And people know where it comes from. That's what I want them to know.
I'm Fred Stokes from Mississippi. I was a farm kid, went in the military for retired until I retired in 1972, got in the cattle business, got clobbered, figured that the game was rigged, so I've been trying to unrig it for 40 plus years. I want to thank you folks for inviting us to come to this particular meeting and tell our story. I want a special thanks for Dr. Dillon. And I'm not sure if I should call him Dr. Dillon or Colonel Dillon, but for whatever title we want to apply, he's been great and very indulgent and tolerant of our pleas for help. OCM, as Mike and Taylor have explained to you, is about trying to bring transparent and openness and competition to the market so that we get a fair price for the things we buy and sell. The agriculture business has become very concentrated in recent years, and the product of that is monopolies and monopsonies. We get it on both ends. We pay too much for what we have to buy and don't get enough for what we have to sell. The result has been a system that has developed that increasingly shortchanges farmers and ranchers, and that, in fact, in more recent years, it threatens the very existence of independent family agriculture, in my view.
We are doing some fundraising so that we can hire a couple of people to be mentors for people wanting to start small meat packing processing plants. In other words, as an inspector, you can say, here are the steps you need to go through. Here are the things you need in place. And that way it will streamline the process of somebody deciding they know how to build a meat plant, and they don't. but they're passionate. So if you know someone who would fit that bill, we would like to hire 2 of those people, and we're raising money to pay them, and we're also looking for entrepreneurs. I was going to get involved in a plant, but I don't have the time. I got too many irons in the fire, not enough iron tenders. And so that's really what he was going to close with. We need someone who knows the steps, knows the business, and is retired but would like to do something like that. So keep that in mind, and you can contact us, and we would be very grateful if you can do that. Thank you. Any questions for us at all? No holds barred. Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, I'd kind of like to talk for just a second about, because I've been speaking with these gentlemen over the past couple of years, particularly Mr. Stokes. I think I probably talked to Fred maybe once a quarter or so. And when I think about what we do, this is part of the reason I wanted these guys to come to this meeting, because when I think about why are we here as state programs, is it because of food safety? Sure. But take us out of the picture, fire every one of us, FSIS will do food safety. And it won't cost the taxpayers in our states anything other than their federal taxes. So food safety, sure, that's our main job, but somebody else will do that for free, right? We're here, in my opinion, because of small businesses, the American farmer and rancher in our states, consumers in our states that want products from those producers. They can go to Walmart all day, right? And they can buy cheapest ground beef they want at Walmart, produced by a big company who's sending their profits to Brazil. And go buy pork chops, send those profits to China. This is important. When we think about the American farmer and rancher, I don't have a background in this, guys. I'm from a town called Lawrence, Kansas. My family in my lifetime has owned 0 cows. I don't come from a ranch at all. I don't even come from Texas. Right? But I moved there on purpose. And so we think about why this is important. We think about the fabric of our country. And it's more than that. We talk about the importance of agriculture. Food is a form of power, right? We as the United States produce so much food that we can feed other nations. If we chose to, we could destroy entire agricultural systems just by giving people free food for 15 years and then taking it away. We could do that. That's power. We don't really think about that. And I don't think we really are doing it on purpose. I think we've done it on accident a couple times. But the thing is, nobody can do it to us. So when we think about state programs and why we are here, it's not a race to see how much like FSIS we can look like, right? It's how can we accomplish our food safety goals while doing something valuable for our state that they're not doing. It's always going to be a situation with FSIS that they're set up to deal with the big plants. They have to be, because food safety is important. And a tremendous amount of our food comes from these big plants. We all know that. And I don't really see how to get away from that, maybe ever, right? But what these guys need is they need a proliferation of small to medium-sized plants where they can make a decision that I'm not going to sell for the price that I'm handed. I'm going to go down the road, I'm going to make a deal with that slaughter plant down the road, and I may have to bring my herd to them over the course of 2 weeks for them to process them, but I'm going to do that and get a fairer price. I went into a Costco the other day. I was looking at ribeyes. USDA choice ribeyes were $14 a pound. USDA prime ribeyes were $18 a pound. And at the same time, because of talking to people like these guys, I know that the producer that produced that animal isn't seeing a cent of that increase. 2 years ago, that same USDA prime ribeye was the same price as the choice ribeye is today, $14 a pound. Choice ribeye was $9.99, which is still a heck of a lot higher than it used to be. But in just a couple of years, huge increase. And I know that these guys aren't seeing it. So it makes me think about what we can do as state programs. I don't know what all the answers are, but there's things that as I look at myself and our program, we probably don't do enough proactive outreach. We deal with folks once they apply for a grant. We'll go out, do an initial inspection, tell them what isn't up to par, what they need to fix to get grant, right? But we're not doing probably enough proactive outreach. Looking for ways to help folks provide what farmers and ranchers need. And I don't know what all those answers are, but I have a few ideas. One of the ideas I kick around sometimes, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get there, but a few years ago, the World Trade Organization decided that requiring producers to say where their product came from was an unfair trade practice. To call Mexican beef, and US beef was an unfair trade practice. Well, makes me wonder, is anybody going to challenge it if I started allowing folks to have a label that says this is Texas beef?
Couple of comments in closing here. And Dr. Dillon, I thank you profusely for your remarks, but we could use some help here. And one of the ways that you could help is by becoming a member of our little organization and lending your name and your influence to our effort. But I see this as our last best hope. If we can't pull this off and effectively bring competition to the marketplace where the cowboy gets a fair shake, where the pie is sliced fairly, then he's going to be chickenized along with the rest of them. And rural America is dying. It's dying because the money that used to come from production and agriculture and stay in the rural areas where it was produced and multiply its way through the local economy and keep other people in business. That doesn't happen anymore. The stuff is siphoned off upstairs to the big corporation. And rural America is suffering. And independent family agriculture is in jeopardy. And the only people who don't need to be concerned about it are those who don't plan to eat in the future. Food security is at play here. But in any event, I would just like to appeal to you folks to consider this thing. And if you think our effort is worthy, come in with us and join with us and help us with the fight.